Welcome to session 1.2. I'm Elle, and I'm so glad you're here. This session is all about what does stress do to you. So grab your notebook, your worksheets, your journal, whatever it is you want to write with. In this video, I'm going to share with you very deeply what stress hormones are actually doing to you, what this fight, flight, or freeze stress response is all about. And the purpose of this video is for you to build even more compelling reasons to just say no to triggering this fight, flight, or freeze stress response. To want to stop these stress hormones so much that you will act. By the way, this video is all about the bad news of my course. This is about what's really happening to us, why stress is called the silent killer. After this point, everything is solution and fun. So I just give you that right up front because stress is kind of a downer. So I'll try to put some humor in here too, and I'll smile a lot because what I'm going to talk about next could be touching you in a lot of ways. Sometimes when I do my live trainings, people cry because many of these things touch us and we have these realizations. Oh, so that's why my face turns red, or that's why my stomach feels so terrible when I'm nervous, or you know, it's really compelling. These are compelling reasons, and that's why I share all this with you. Let's start by answering the first question on your worksheet. What does stress do to you? I want you to list out the things that you notice happen to you whenever you're stressed out. Each person is completely unique, so what do you experience? Write down, you don't have to write it all down, but just write a few things down to get that conversation started with yourself. And now the second question, where do you experience tension in your body? So start at the top of your head. Is your brow furrowed? A lot of people have furrows in their brow. And it's incredible when I start to work with people and those furrows start to move out. I call it their real face. We get to see your real face again. Before all this stress made you into a furrowed mess. And how about your jaw? I used to grind my teeth every night. Many of my clients have TMJ or tooth grinding problems, or they chew pens or bite their fingernails. So do you have tension here in your jaw? What about your shoulders? A lot of people have tense shoulders, upper back issues, shoulder issues. How about your belly? Many people hold tension in their belly and they don't even realize it. We'll be going deep into that when we get to solution. Even your feet, you may be curling up your toes or tight in your legs. So see where you hold tension in your body. Clench your fists. Everybody's a little different. So kind of do a body scan and sense where your tension is. If you have tension somewhere in your body, like you bite your nails or you get tight like this, or you have the furrowed brow, I don't want you to consider it a negative. I want you to consider it as a part of your solution. Because if you notice that you're getting tight here, or your jaws, you're clenching your teeth or your jaw, then that's a sign that some sort of emotion is working on you. That means you can actually pull out one of my simple tools to begin getting a handle on this tension or whatever this emotion is that's causing you to feel tense. So if you have some sort of a tension problem, maybe you jiggle your leg or tap or click a pen or that kind of a thing, I don't want you to view it like, oh man, look how screwed up I am. I want you to view it as a positive identifier. Something that helps you get to solution faster. Now I'm going to show you the two floods of hormones and what they do to the body and the mind. I want you to add things that I say here in these next few moments that also apply to you, things that you don't want to have happen to you anymore, to help you build your compelling reasons. When you trigger the fight or flight stress response for any reason, these floods of hormones go out. There are two floods. The first are called catecholamines, but the largest one is adrenaline. So I'm going to refer to these hormones as adrenaline. And yes, I call it a cocktail because the moment it goes out into the bloodstream, you're now under the influence, just like you took a little too much to drink. And you're going to have side effects, just like any drug that we take into our bodies has side effects. So here's what the flood of adrenaline does to you. Well, your heart rate is going to increase. Actually, your heart rate is going to increase ahead of the release of these hormones. It's the heart rate that's triggering the release. And then it goes even higher and your blood pressure increases. Your face may turn red, even your neck, or even your legs or arms, because there's this massive blood flow change when all this adrenaline goes out. It's wicking fat and glucose from your neurons and your major muscles and bringing it all right here so you have a massive amount of energy to super fight or run away or freeze. In your mind and your brain, the neurotransmitter dopamine shuts down. Dopamine fires your whole cortex. It helps you think and remember and make good decisions. And that's going to shut down somewhat every time you release these hormones. Not a good deal if you're going in to take a test or give a speech. Your tear ducts are going to shut down, so you may have a dry eye issue. And your saliva ducts are going to shut down also. Your saliva ducts are attached to your whole digestive system, which is going to slow down or stop every time you trigger all this adrenaline in your system. Why? Because I'm a why girl, by the way. I like to know why. If we release all of these hormones so that we can fight or run away, metabolizing food takes a great deal of energy. So our body actually shuts down that system so we can truly save ourselves if we're under physical attack. Your pupils are going to dilate. Let's go back up to the senses for a minute. Your pupils are going to dilate and so your vision may change. I get kind of blurry when I'm looking at music and I trigger the stress response. And also your hearing is going to change. Things may feel kind of muffled or different. Your bladder and your sphincter muscles are going to contract and relax, so it feels like you have to go to the bathroom a lot. Do you ever go to the bathroom and then like 20 minutes later, right before the speech, you feel like, oh, I gotta go again, even though you just went? Well, that's what's going on there. Or you're headed down the highway and 20 minutes into the trip, you have to pull over and go again. So when we pulled all this fat and glucose here, we're building stress fat in our torso and also in our arteries. So perhaps heart disease is an issue for you. So this may be a huge reason why you don't want to trigger the stress hormones. Your brain and your arms and your leg muscles get very shaky. They're dehydrated. So your brain's not thinking very clearly and your muscles are kind of shaky. So that's why you may jiggle your leg or feel strange in your body. Also, your reflexes are going to hyper. So if you're an athlete and you need controlled muscle motion, you may overthrow or overpass if you're a hockey player. Just overswing if you're a tennis player. Overshoot if you're a basketball player, because your reflexes are all going to hyper in this state. And last one, your palms may feel sweaty and also your feet may feel sweaty. Did you add anything to your list? Were any of these things compelling reasons for you to want to stop triggering the stress response? Some of my clients, they don't want their face to turn red when they stand up to give a talk or a speech. They would prefer that not happen. Or that their palms be all sweaty when they go to introduce themselves to someone new. Or when they meet someone for the first time, they want to actually remember their name and not forget it in a few seconds. Now we're going to talk about the second flood of hormones. Most people know about adrenaline, but have you ever heard of glucocorticoids? Your adrenal glands make a completely different compound of hormones out in the outer skin called the cortex. These are called glucocorticoids. So let's talk about the glucose first. So you just dumped a whole bunch of sugar into your bloodstream. Is that a good idea? Probably not. It can lead to type 2 diabetes and hyperglycemia, and it can give you that high-low kind of series that you may feel when your blood sugar is changing. And then cortisol. Cortisol is an interesting drug. You may have heard of people getting cortisone shots in their knees. Well, cortisol, when it releases into the bloodstream and goes to the brain, causes two psychological effects that I want to share with you here. First, it may make you feel anxious. Well, if you recall from our first video in this training series, anxiety and anxiousness is one of those A's we just don't want. That's one of the A's that's going to cause us to release these hormones. So if cortisol goes into your brain, you may feel anxious again. Plus, cortisol is your wake-up drug. So if you have an incident occur in the evening, maybe you have an argument with someone or you're anxious about something that's going to happen in the next day or two, then at some point in your evening or during the night, cortisol is going to release and tell your brain it's time to wake up. So maybe you have trouble falling asleep, or maybe at like 2 or 3 in the morning, you're wide awake and it's very difficult to get back to sleep because cortisol is telling your brain to wake up. Not only that, it's making you feel anxious. So now you're just in this big stress spiral and it goes on and on and on and on, and most of us are never out of it. If you have trouble sleeping, this may be one of the main reasons, this flood of glucocorticoids. So list that on your sheet if you need to. Three things are suppressed by this cortisol too. The first is your thyroid gland. Your thyroid gland, which takes care of your body's metabolism. It's kind of like your body's thermostat. It's a beautiful little butterfly in here. This is a very powerful gland, but every time you trigger fight or flight, you actually suppress your thyroid gland, so you really mess with it. Secondly, your immune system. What does your immune system do for you? It's really pretty amazing how it fights off diseases. Not only diseases from the external, but any cancers or little bacterial growths in us, our immune system gets right to work to protect us when our body is in a flourishing state. However, when we trigger fight or flight, we create a very acid body, and cancers and bacteria thrive in an acid body. It makes it very hard for the immune system to do its job. So the immune system gets suppressed up to 40% when you release glucocorticoids. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be reducing my immune system 40% these days. And then your inflammatory response, your healing response within your body. That gets really messed up too. If you have an inflammatory disease like swollen joints or arthritis, that could be a compelling reason for you to want to stop triggering all these stress hormones. Two things decrease when we trigger all this cortisol into the bloodstream. Your muscles. So your muscle mass is actually going to decrease from releasing these hormones, especially the cortisol, and also your bones. Your bones are going to become less dense. Something's going to grow with cortisol, and that's your belly fat. Cortisol actually makes your belly fat expand because there's a fear that you're going to need a lot of fat to protect yourself when you're under attack like this. We don't know when the next food source is coming, so we better have enough fat to use to keep in survival mode. So you're feeding your fat cells when you trigger this second flood of hormones here, which happens on its own because you triggered the adrenaline. I told you I'd be smiling a lot because this is a lot of bad news. If you have cholesterol issues, your bad cholesterol, the LDL, that's going to rise, and your HDL, which you want higher, is actually going to lower when you trigger the glucocorticoids in your system. Are any of these consequences of triggering the stress response on your list, or something you need to write down on your list? Take a pause if you need, pause the video, and write down anything that for you is a really compelling reason. Immune system's at the top of my list, boy. It's important to me. So whatever really touched you as I was sharing all this with you, go ahead and take a moment to write it down. Now let's consider all of the ailments or conditions or diseases that stress either directly causes or exacerbates. Basically, it's every single one. So what conditions or medical situations are you in? Go ahead and put those down. Do you take medications for anything? And I mean anything. For headaches, for nausea, anything. Go ahead and write those things down because stress is implicated in every human disease. But just to run a few down here, cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, bone density problems, autoimmune diseases, eczema, psoriasis, insomnia, stress acne, asthma, allergies. These are all diseases or conditions that are exacerbated or directly caused by stress. All chronic disease is caused by stress. Now this is just a partial list, so if you have any conditions or things that you want to look up and see how does stress affect it, do some research on your own. It's fascinating to learn what's really happening. Now I want you to take a look at this list that you have of all these different things that are your compelling reasons or possible compelling reasons. And I want you to select the top 3 if you can. The top 3 reasons why you want to stop releasing these stress hormones. What are your top 3 reasons? These reasons are going to reflect your life, your situation. They're going to reflect what you wish to achieve and also what your pain is. The stronger and the deeper that you develop this why, the good side of the why and the negative side of the why, the more likely you will succeed with this program. It may be easy for you to put together your reasons why, or it may be really challenging. So be patient with yourself. Sometimes it's really hard to be patient. We're in an instant world. Give it to me now, right? But this process is going to take some time for you, or it could. I'm not going to rule out that you might just have an epiphany tonight and be pressure-free and have optimal performance instantly. But for most people, it takes some time, so be patient with yourself and see if you can get clear about this why. If it interests you, I'll share with you what my why is. If you don't want to know, just shut off this video, go to the next one. But I thought you might like to know what my why is, what my 3 main reasons are, what I'm circling on my worksheet. So these are my 3 reasons for wanting to use my pressure-free method for wanting to have optimal performance in my life. First, I want to experience every day as fully as possible. I want to have a truly fulfilling life. I want to work effectively and efficiently and share my work with the world. So that's one of my reasons. Secondly, I want to be healthy. If health is the first wealth, as Emerson said, I truly want to be healthy and wealthy. I want to live a full life. I would love to just die of old age, not to have any suffering from any sort of chronic disease. And then thirdly, I want to experience really close relationships with everyone I truly care about. I mean, beautiful, deep, fulfilling relationships. I'll expound a little more on this for you if you want to hear it. So first, relationships. I'll talk about that first. I want to be my very best self for my husband, for my sons, for everyone that is close to me. I want to get rid of all the negative behaviors that dissipate that greatness within a relationship. I want to get right to solution when there are dilemmas or situations where we don't see eye to eye on things. I don't want to spend much time at all in negativity. I really don't. I want to have an adventurous, fun life for the people that I love. Next, health. My parents both suffered and died from chronic diseases. My mother died of breast cancer when she was only 69. Her mother lived to be 100. In fact, her mother saw 2 of her children die, both of cancer. My father had heart disease and diabetes. His heart disease started when I was very young, so he was probably in his 30s. He was a banker, he ended up his career as a bank president, had a very intense career, and worked extremely hard. But he thought he was doing everything right. On the weekends and on the weeknights, he completely relaxed with his family. We had a beautiful summer home on Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire, and that was his getaway. And he truly relaxed. But none of us really understood what stress was doing to him. And it eventually did kill him, as it did my mother. So stress-induced diseases, this cancer, diabetes, and the heart disease, those are 3 main reasons that I want to have optimal performance and pressure-free in my life. My other primary reason is to share my gifts and talents freely to the world, with no fear. Just do it, right? Just do it. But pressure-free allows me to just do it. It allows me to get up on stage in front of many, many people and have absolutely no fear. I've been on stage my whole life performing, but this is a different kind of performing because now I'm sharing a very different gift, something that I've created and learned that I truly wish to share with the world. So I desire to use my method to live optimal performance each and every day so that I'm doing it. I'm really making it happen. So what are your reasons why? Get very clear about it. Write it down so that you know why you are doing this. As I prepared for this video and rewrote my whys, it was extremely powerful and really helpful to me. So go for it. Really get into your why, and I'll see you on the next video.